Okay. So it's been a while. Of course, a truck drives by right as I start this. Yeah, so I thought today I would have a chat about this feeling of inner tension. So I've been feeling this, and I think part of it is because, I started making these videos because I felt strongly compelled to, and I haven't been as committed with it as I feel I want to be. And I think it's led to some inner tension, which I think maybe can be applicable to many things. Of course, for me now, this is just one of them. Yeah, so how do you deal with this kind of thing? Is the real kind of thing I want to talk about. And I think a lot of it comes down to just personal accountability for me. I find I really have to acknowledge what I'm feeling in order to dissipate the feeling. Otherwise, it just kind of like bounces around inside me, looking for attention. So, yeah, so I woke up this morning feeling quite anxious. I had a very tight jaw and this feeling inside me that something was off. That isn't really linked to any immediate concern that I have. Because really I don't have an immediate concern generally the first thing when I wake up. So it feels a little bit nebulous sometimes, and this happens, I wouldn't say often, but it does happen occasionally where, you just wake up, or sometimes throughout the day feel like this, almost it's like feelings that don't belong to you, and then you're just kind of left confused by them. I don't know if anyone can relate to this. This happens to me kind of. It's definitely worth mentioning, if I can put it that way, because it isn't uncommon for it to happen. Excuse me, sorry, it's quite early here, and the sun hasn't even come out yet properly. But like I was saying, I just felt very strongly compelled to just take out the freaking phone and start. And this tension, right, this inner tension, I have a few ways of dealing with it. One thing I do is I make peace within myself, and I guess what that means is really what I was talking about earlier, where I acknowledge the feeling and try and attach it to something, just to figure out what's the purpose of it, and if it's grounded in something I have control over, or if it's just perhaps a fleeting feeling that I need to, again, acknowledge and let go of. But I think in this case, it's this feeling that I want to do something and I'm just not doing it. Why? Who knows? Maybe I'm just not quite in this habit yet of filming myself talking about my problems and semi-solutions to them. But what I realized as well, so I journal every morning, and I do this because I find it really helps me to get a grip on what I'm going through. So when I have mysterious feelings like this, I will give myself the chance to write about it and more often than not, I'll kind of figure it out. I'll get some insights as to where it's coming from and why I'm experiencing it and how to move beyond it, if there's like an action involved that I need to take, which I think usually there is. Usually I need to adjust something or approach something in a new way. So yeah, in this case of me making videos, I think what I realized is that I may be focusing too much on the producing aspect of it in terms of, there's this need to make content when, my interest isn't really in making content per se, but it is in sharing my insights to problems that I'm having in the hope that it can help somebody else. That's really it. If my struggle can mitigate somebody else's struggle and give somebody new insight and perspective, that's what I'm trying to accomplish. If somebody's perhaps in some small way inspired to keep going or to change the way they see themselves, their problems, their challenges, their future, because of something that I've gone through and managed to overcome, that's really the ultimate goal, is to empower other people, and myself as well along the way, because I do feel that I've overcome a lot, and that's not to say that I've got it all figured out, far from it, but I will stand by myself in the fact that I have managed to gain some perspective. There is a minuscule little sugar bird, hummingbird, as it's known to some, in this tree up here. It is so delightful. I love living here. It's really magical. The birds. Wow. The birds. Okay, so what am I getting at? Yeah, I think when I shift my focus to really providing meaning and value to people instead of just like pumping out content for the sake of getting attention, I think I feel a lot better about it. I'm much more able to engage myself in the activity because it becomes less about me and more about the mission. So yeah, one thing I will say is that it really is good to find some kind of purpose. It's been really good for me. I felt unanchored for a really long time, and I think it has to do with that lack of purpose. It's easy to to lose sight of it, and it's difficult to find it. I think it's maybe easier, when you have like kids and stuff. I don't have kids. I don't particularly want kids. I love animals though. I've got a cat child who is really, really like an actual kid, but with like way less responsibility attached. I think something like being a parent gives you purpose. So if you choose to not be a parent, I think it can be hard to find that. But even when you are a parent, I think you probably need more purpose than just being a parent, right? Because that's obviously a major thing. But I think it's easy to lose yourself when one thing becomes your identity. So yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna kind of stop here. I mean, I don't know shit about being a parent, but what I do know is that it's easy to lose yourself in day-to-day obligation, and it's easy to lose sight of your purpose. And if you don't feel that you have a purpose, you know, maybe that's the thing that's missing in your life. And if you can find that and commit yourself to that, you may be, you know, you may not be lacking as much as you think you're lacking. Anyway, okay. It was a bit rambling, this one, but I'm just gonna chalk it up to practice. And you know what, not everything has to be perfect. And yeah, okay, this is sounding like one of those 5-minute long voice notes where you try to find a convenient way to end it and there is none. So thanks for watching. If you did, apologize if it's not really. You know what? I don't need to apologize. You decided to watch, you kept going. If you did. Okay, bye.